Hey guys, welcome back to episode 8 of the Everything Communication podcast. I actually realized before recording this episode that I've been labeling the past ones wrong. So at the start of the last like 3 or 4 videos, I said welcome back to Everything Communication podcast, and I said like episode 6 when it was actually episode 7. So my apologies for that. In full transparency, in today's episodes, I do not have any prep. I don't have any content. Usually, what I'll do before an episode is I will jot a couple things down and sort of expand on what I've got, and then kind of just take it from there. To be honest, but today I just haven't. We're just gonna flow, man. We're just gonna see what happens, what comes to me, what I take inspiration from. Um, and I think one of the things I definitely want to cover, actually, I want to tell you guys a bit of a story, right? Of something that I really used to struggle with, which was structure. I used to be horrible at explaining things to people. And I think I remember one of the previous episodes. If I haven't, I'll look back after this. I haven't told you guys already, but when I was younger, I used to ramble and go on and on and on and on and on with stories, right? My parents would get to the point where my parents would tell me, okay, Jay, what point are you trying to tell me? Why are you telling me all of this? Because I told them about going to school and finding a pencil, and then the pencil had a rubber at the bottom, and then I used the rubber, and then the rubber drops on the floor. Then I picked it up, and then when I was going to the bin, then I saw something on the whiteboard, and the whiteboard had blue markers, had red markers. Like I would tell all of this story going on tangent and tangent. It's like, bro, what? Why are you telling me this? Like, what's the point? What are you trying to get at here? As I've kind of grown and gotten into the corporate space, I've seen that that's something that I never really grew out of. It would either be I'll tell a story, right? And it would just go round and round and round, or it would be I would start talking about something with no context of what I'm talking about. One of my mentors actually said to me quite early on in my career that I think step 8, not set 8, could never this me guy like me, I was in top set for everything, man. Naturally, top set for everything. You know what I mean? So it could never be set 8, but step 8. And what she meant by that was when I think very last step. So what is the thing that we're trying to get to, right? What's the goal? I can see the vision. One thing about me, I do not struggle when it comes to the aspect of vision. Yeah, that area is where I can dominate easy. If you ask me to make a business plan, or you ask me to write something about what this thing should transform into, give me an area of land and I can tell you what it will be. Give me a couple of resources, right? Some people, I can tell you exactly what it is they should go on to do, right? I'm quite good at strategy. So when she said that, I think step 8, what she was saying was that it's very easy for me to see the vision. It's very easy for me to see the final steps, right? But it's harder for me to then track back and look at, okay, how do I get from where I am now to then doing step 1, and then step 2, and then step 3, and then step 4, and working my way up to that final vision, working my way up to the 8th step. And so that's actually going to be the title of today's video. It just came to me right now, but we're going to run with it. We're going to use it. The title of today's podcast episode is going to be the 8th step, right? And it's quite funny that it's actually the 8th episode. I actually didn't even run that. I'm not going to lie. But hey, God works in mysterious ways. Appreciate it, big dog. Appreciate it for real. But anyway, step 8, right? That's exactly how I used to think. And something that I used to really struggle with when it came to corporate was because I thought very far ahead, I would have an idea. So let's say that we're working on a presentation, right? And one of the slides currently is speaking about why we should use this software tool to save £10. And I will come in and start speaking about how, no, actually, I think we should start thinking about quantum instead. And everyone's like, what? Where does that come from? Like, we've had weeks of meetings speaking about this new software tool, how it's going to save us money, all of that kind of stuff. And I'm just coming in left field, or right field rather, from my angle, talking about quantum. Like, where's the connection? Where's that come from? Right? I was very bad at that because the way my brain was wired was, oh yeah, I've done the thinking. I've thought through all of the steps of like, we're only saving £10 right now. How could we save more? I've gone and done the research. I've looked at, oh, okay, there's different types of tooling that we could use. There's something like AI, agentic. We've also got this like machine learning stuff we could chuck in there. Oh, also the quantum, right? So I've done all of the steps in between and I've gotten to my idea. I've gotten to my final solution, but no one else has seen that. No one else has been on that journey with me, right? And so it was very hard for people that I was on teams with to understand what I'm saying. The thing that helped me to break things down was actually just rehearsing what I was going to say. That's it. Right. And so just before I actually started recording this episode, the thing that came to me was that practice actually prepares you. It doesn't make perfect, but it prepares you. Right? Having done something again and again and again and again gets you to a position where you're more comfortable doing it. And you need less preparation each time, which today is why I could come and record this podcast about I haven't done much prep. Because I've now got 7 weeks. I've done 7 episodes of having written out content, having thought through, okay, what is I want to speak about? Having to go from this topic to this topic to this. And I've also, right, I've been a keynote speaker for the last 3 years. So this is my whole bread and butter, having to put down ideas and synthesize them into a talk that makes sense, into stories, into messages. And so because I practice it so much, I can now get to a position where it's like I'm able to come and deliver something without having prepped it much because I think in a different way now. I've trained my brain to think in a different way now. And so for those of you that are on that same kind of wavelength that I was on in terms of thinking step 8, or maybe you think step 19, I don't know. You could be the chief strategist. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a small way. You could be chief strategist, or you could be someone that thinks in quite a twisted way, right? Where you like to go on different tangents when you're speaking, and people might tell you that you ramble too much or whatever. All of that, right? Your problem is the same as the problem that I had before, which is simply a lack of structure. Once you have structure, then you have something to plug all of your ideas into. Then you have something to plug your stories into. Then you have something to plug the words that are going to come out of your mouth into so that it comes out coherent rather than being something that twists and turns and nobody understands what it is you're actually trying to say. And so at times it feels like you're rambling. At times it can feel like you are waffling and you don't know what you're saying. And that's only because you haven't got some sort of framework or some sort of idea in your mind that you've thought of before. Okay, how do I get from point A to point B? That might not have been a thought that's occurred to you before. Right. And so I'm not saying that you need to have this specific structure tied down because part of this is like, well, what works for you? But what you do need is to find a structure that does work for you, right? And so for me, when I think about what I'm going to say, what I'm going to say, I think about it in the same way if I'm going to deliver a keynote, right? I'll start off with some sort of hook, some sort of intro, and then I'll go in and tell a story. Once I've told the story, then I can land the message. And it's only once I've landed the message, I can give someone the takeaway. Whereas before, what I used to do was jump straight to takeaway, haven't done any introduction, haven't done any story. There's no way for people to buy into it, no people to see how I've gotten to where I've gotten to. So if I'm not bringing people on the journey, I'm giving them a takeaway that feels like I didn't order this. No pun intended. You said I did that. Did you actually? Did you deef it? Track back, rewind it. You didn't see it. Rewind it. Still, I'm giving you a takeaway, but you didn't order that takeaway. I'm giving you Chinese. You ordered Indian. It doesn't make sense. So the same way for you, you need to think about, okay, I'm going to structure what I'm saying so that when I give people the takeaway, when I get to the point, like this is what I want to leave with, it's actually what they ordered. They actually take it down, digest it, because they understand the point that you've gotten to. And so you can use that structure, you can use your own structure. It could be as simple as beginning, middle, end. That's it. Right? Because this works in different scenarios. You can use this when you're speaking in meetings, at work. You can use this like I've just have here on a podcast. Or if you're going to deliver a keynote of your own, you're running a workshop. Structure, make sure, right? Structure gives you a synthesized view of what you're trying to say. It allows you to put a bunch of ideas and thoughts and a lot of good content and actually give people something to leave with. That's the difference between people who go on to do TED Talks or deliver any sort of workshop or training program. And you'll be in those ones at work, or you would have maybe in at school, and you're like, oh, this is so long, man. It's such a drag. And then you have other ones which are really engaging, and you find it really easy to stay on with whatever the person's delivering. And it might be because they have different games involved, or they have some sections where you're watching a video, some sections where you're doing a worksheet, some sections where they're talking to you. In other words, they've thought more about how to structure what they're delivering. And that's simply what you need to do if you find yourself getting to a point where you're like, when I talk, I feel like I'm rambling, or when I talk, I feel like people don't understand me. You just need to work on your structure. You just need to practice your structure. So what I would recommend going from this video, and here's the takeaway, right, is to take what you're trying to say and practice writing out how you would write it in the structure that you've chosen. So again, example, if you've chosen beginning, middle, end, what is the thing I'm trying to say? What's the thing I want people to leave with? And what do I need to say at the beginning to show how I first came up with this idea? And then what's the process I went to refine my idea to make it what it actually is now? Right? There's a process here. There's a story. There's a journey you need to take people on. So how do you structure your journey and practice doing that again and again and again and again with your ideas until you get to a point where it's like you actually don't need to rely on it as much, because now you've trained your brain to think in a different way so that when you speak, it's easier for people to digest what it is you're trying to say. Hopefully this video is helpful, and the next one I'll probably will structure it again. To be honest, it's just wanted to try it out this week, see what we're saying. And to be honest, I think I quite like this. So maybe not. Maybe next week we'll keep the same sort of flow. Apologies if you guys can hear the background noise as well. It's a crazy. Every day is a crazy day in the John estate, to be honest. But I will catch you guys next week. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you here again for episode 9 of the Everything Communication podcast.